Okay, we open the meeting. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September meeting with the Lumley Parish Council. Just to kick away, just for the purpose of to let everyone know that the meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded onto YouTube in due course. So for that reason, we'll just do just go around and introduce ourselves. First of all, I'm Alan Bell. I'm chairing this meeting tonight. To my left is Councillor Phil Hedgeside, Vice Chair tonight.
I'm Councillor Elaine Wood.
Councillor Earbuds.
Councillor Jeremy Whiting.
Councillor Peter Rowe.
Thank you, everybody. And apologies for me. Item number 1 on the agenda is apologies for meetings. Apologies for people who are not in attendance. Any apologies? We do have Haley. Apologies. Gary Brown, apologies. Tim, sends apologies, and not everybody. Item number 2 is declarations of interest. Declarations of interest for items on the agenda. If not now, if anything comes up as we go along, just let us know. Item number 3 is public comments to allow any members of the public to speak to the meeting, maximum 15 minutes, 5 minutes per person maximum. Anybody in the public which wish to bring anything to our attention? Michelle?
Just a couple of things, Alan, please. I'm just wondering what's happening with the vacant councillor's position.
I believe it's actually on
Is it on the
the
agenda?
agenda. I'm just looking for you for.
It should be.
It
It should have been there. Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Was it 10? Yeah. No, that's parish.
It's not that one.
It was on when we did the draft, but it's not there now, so it should have been.
So what we'll do, we'll bring it up in minutes.
Yeah.
Items what's not on the agenda, bring it up in previous minutes, Michelle.
And also, just I know I wasn't at the sort of special meeting when they were discussing the kick. Just is there going to be an advertisement going on for directors, or are we going to choose directors?
That's what we feel. I didn't actually do that meeting, but I was
There'll be a limited number of directors to get off the ground, and then there'll be a limited number of directors to get off the ground, and then we start recruiting as the process goes on.
That's going to go out to the whole community.
Yeah, at some point, it'll probably be towards the end of the refurb or rebuild, and build it up properly to a full committee.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle. Yes, Jeremy,
My name. I came on to the last meeting to inquire if there had been any planning applications made, or certainly what the parish council's view was on any proposed future development within the area. I just wondered if there had been any further developments. Certainly, Councillor Hedgeside did say that I think he was going to speak to you following the meeting, and you would report back, and I just wondered if there had been any further update.
Yeah, so following on from that, I did sort of meet up with the agent for that land. So the land is in the ownership of the Lumley estate. Sorry, Michelle. Yeah, so the land is a field which wrap around the Steamore Drive estate.
Right.
So it's a field sort of opposite the waterworks, and the field in between the estate and George Lockley's. Yeah. So it's like it's a wrap around kind of. But yeah, so I met with the agents, and yeah, in light of it, there is sort of just to wind it back. So historically, that site was put forward in the Durham plan a number of years back, which the county council sort of didn't take it on board, didn't feel it would be sort of a good site to put into the plan. It wasn't put in the plan, and it was left there. It was like kind of parked. So the agents, when I met up with them, they said the continuing to sort of pursue sort of, in relation to if there's any way forward to bring the site forward. There's no application gone in at this stage. They did say, because what it started off, a number of residents had seen personnel in the field sort of doing surveys, what have you. But they did say that crops would come off in the coming weeks, which I know they are off there. And they will. Yeah. But following that, which is probably any time now, is they will be doing sort of further exploratory, I think, boreholes or something for the line. So they are sort of continuing to sort of explore the options. At this moment in time, there's no plan application come in, and neither did Great Lumley have any allocation for any sort of larger numbers in the Durham plan. But it's not to say there is a policy. There is a policy in the Durham plan, policy 6, I believe it is, where if the developer feels that a site is well related to the settlement, as in sort of access to services, your schools, your church, etc., that there is a sort of that if it complied with such a that policy 6, that the sort of they could sort of ask for things to be looked at, applying policy 6. However, that wouldn't be until it got to a plan application stage whether sort of the planners would or wouldn't support that.
There was a company employed by the Lumley estate last July, are you aware of that? That submitted a report to Durham County Council.
No.
And the company was a company called Westwicks of Newcastle. And the report was submitted by Mr. Fishwick, who I assume is one of Westwick's employees, and it outlined possible development within the 2 fields that you've mentioned. And it was fairly graphic in the mention of the 200 properties. And that is there to be seen, because I haven't gone into full depth, but I skipped through the report. And I did what the parish council's view was on the infrastructure within the village, as to whether you think the village could cope with another 200 properties.
If I answer that question, that report, is it on the Durham website? Is that
it's on the Durham website, and it was on the internet that I found it.
Right.
And I believe if you go into the land is owned by the Lumley estate 1988, I believe. And it was submitted by, as I say, a company called Westwicks. And it was fairly detailed, and it was basically that I don't think they were trying to alter the plan, but it looked to me as though they were trying to put forward a very good case for development on that land, which is currently at the moment, that land is outside of the village boundary.
Yeah, but just a couple of things there. So when the Durham plan was brought together, the boundaries, like sort of, used to be called the village envelope, the village settlement, the village boundaries, then disappeared in the Durham plan. It's now more planning, and it's more about being in sustainable locations. So there's no sort of what you refer to there. There's no like line goes around the edge of the settlements now.
And this council has the Great Lumley Council got a plan, because see that there are quite a number of local councils within Durham County itself do have their own plan.
The neighbourhood plan, and this parish don't have a neighbourhood plan in place, unfortunately. But just to go back to your question there, my personal view, I'm sure everybody else will have their own view on it. But personally, what is a big sticking point, which I did say to the agents that day, is the secondary schools, as in particularly Park View, is, I think this year it was, I'm going to say 150 oversubscribed, definitely over 100 in large numbers, as was Hermitage. And that's a real worry for like without any development, that's a worry.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of it's increased year on year, and I did say that. I mean, what the authorities do ask in plan applications to happen when large developments come forward, they ask for like it's called a 106 agreement and a financial contribution. However, Parkview and Hermitage are both academies, and the authority can't force the hand for the skills to build on. I actually met with the head over a year ago, like sort of, you know, in relation to the ongoing problem of what's coming down the road, basically, probably next September in relation to the Lumley division for pupils getting in. I think we've got some trouble ahead. And I sort of discussed that then with the head at Park View. And it was discussed about adding another year group up in North Lodge side. So we had 3 years up there to try to, like, you know, to increase the whole, because Chelsea Street side, there's no, the size of the site, they can't extend anywhere because it's quite sort of a small site, so they can't extend there. So the only place they can extend is up at North Lodge. However, the authority can't force the hand for the schools to build on. So just 2 days ago, I emailed education and the planners and also a cabinet member saying about, you know, have we got any sort of answers to sort of the ongoing inquiry. So yeah, so that's ongoing. So that's my personal, to answer that is in a nutshell, is no, we can't, you know, at this moment in time with a secondary school. I mean, also as part of an application, developers are also, you've got to go to like the likes of the surgeries and the infant school, the junior schools. There probably is capacity in them three, the doctors and the 2 schools. But the big one is the secondary school. There's none now. And I think also I said to the parish councillors previously, I think on the back of this Forest Lane development, I think Lumley is very attractive to developers at this moment. Them houses sold in record time and probably in record prices, and everybody in Hill probably realised Lumley in the last year, the prices have just gone absolutely crazy. But
The property market is the same all over. It's interesting that you should mention the doctors, because not that unfortunately I don't have to frequent it very often. But people tell me that there's a waiting list to be seen by a doctor, and I'm not so sure whether the doctor's surgery in its present state would be able to cope with any more housing. Other people may tell me wrong, but
when schools, their development was first proposed, I was part of parish council at the time, and I ran the doctors and several schools in the area, St Cuthbert's, Woodley. Woodley always has very little space. But both our schools and the doctors said they still have capacity.
Right.
But that was at the point of Scores Lane development. You've now
There was,
also got the 80 odd houses down there, but at that point they were all saying that they had capacity. But I do know that I've just started working with the infant school. Reception class this year is 53. 53 kids at joint reception this year.
Yeah, so the numbers are getting up.
The numbers are getting heavier. I think it's about, I want to say about 5 or 6, maybe more than last year's. So it was 53 intake this year.
But the year sort of proper exercises that any developers have got to go through to sort of to see what, if any, capacities is there. And yeah, just to open it up with the rest of it, because I've had too much to say there.
One of the rooms I've heard is that's it's only a room, you know, what the village is like, is a secondary school to be built there.
Where?
On that land over there.
No, I have, to be honest, yeah, it is a room there. Because I've actually said to,
Because I suppose it could make sense, because you've got learning away and there's no skills walking.
yeah, which that's what the area does need is a secondary school.
That's the extra room.
When they shut Roseberry a number of years ago, that's where the problem started. And then sort of other schools were like kind of sort of getting bad offset reports without naming any schools. And that's why we put more sort of more demand on the likes of definitely on Park View. But I did say, you know, the answer to all of this is another school. The county council's answer was like, yeah, it is, but who's going to pay for it? Because at the end of the day, the county council haven't got the funds and anything. Anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, if it helps to ease your mind a bit, I've also had an inquiry this afternoon from somebody living on Eden Crescent on the Belway estate asking why the drilling in the field behind them as well.
What, you have another inquiry from where, sorry?
Even Crescent, one of the new houses in the Galway estates,
All right,
and
then.
the drillers have been drilling boreholes over there as well. So I think we stay exploring all the fields around the village.
Yeah.
We'll be doing something in the future.
The estate owns considerable areas of land which I think the plan will be on. This was on the sort of proposal that I've seen, that they own land all over the land. Could you tell me who it was that you met actually on the estate? You said you'd met the agent. Could you give me the name of the agent?
Yeah, it was a guy called Colin Gillespie. The other guy with him was a lad called Tom Richardson.
All right, yeah. Thank you very much. Obviously, there's nothing happening.
Yeah, until sort of such a time an application, if what does come forward, you know, then we'll be better placed to sort of dig it further. Answers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody, anything else?
I thought the new houses going up where they are, we need new pavements, don't we?
Anything what, Jeremy?
Pavements. I mean, the people want to walk into the village to the shops, because we need the proper pavements to do it on.
Pavements?
Yes. Imagine if you want to open one of the new houses which hasn't been built yet, want to go to the court, for instance, or come to the community centre, you've got to, and you don't want to drive, you want to walk there, and you're pavement to walk on.
Yeah. As always with any development, it's got to be, any new developments have got to have pavements included.
That's right, yes. I mean, when I walk out from St Albans, from Cambridge driving to Ocken Lane, from the where St Albans closest, there's no pavement there. So there's also no pavement up at the far end when you go around the S-bend, the east side of the village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay then. Nobody's got anything else. And the next item on the agenda is, what we don't have on in there is a police report. Due to the sort of the lack of police reports going forward, we've taken that out there. But the neighbourhood warden, who is for the village, he did indicate he would sort of be able to come on virtually. So I'm not too sure if Scott was listening, if you would like to unmute yourself and you can give us a little bit of a presentation. If that was you on there, Scott?
See, there are two people, members of the public that are human. Don't believe either, and I'll Scott on the names.
No. If not, it's something we can bring forward for the next meeting. It was short notice, only a couple of days ago.
Looking at the agenda, just so the police report can be item number 7. My copy hasn't got an item number 7.
Okay, then. Item number 4 is the minutes of the last meeting. To agree and sign as a correct record the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 3rd and the 19th of August 2021. So the first one is for the 3rd. No, that one usually for the 3rd August. Page 1. You were here. Yeah. You got that card? Yeah. We have you on page 1. Page 2. Let's help you on that on page 3. So we're happy for them to be signed. We'll keep this name to be amended on there. No, we were there. No. And the next one is the meeting on the 19th.
Yeah. There's only one page for this one.
Could we change the title because it wasn't the monthly meeting, it was a special meeting?
That's right, yeah, I agree with that.
Have a special in this year. Are we happy? Page 2 is the signature strip.
Okay. Item number 5 is matters arising from the minutes, to discuss any matters arising from the minutes which do not appear elsewhere on the agenda. What did we say before, which wasn't on there? What's going to be the police?
Yeah.
The police report.
Co-option
The
option.
vacancy it was,
See, the
yeah.
co-option's fallen off the edge because Jeremy's right, there's no number 7. So co-option is obviously number 7.
Right, okay.
Discipline.
Anything else with advice? Based on the last minutes, took into account the feedback. The laptop and the camera.
Yeah, yeah, in relation to the, including the whole parish council.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any more craft fairs or was that a one-off?
It's
Yeah,
on
so-
the agenda, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
The picking equipment's arrived. We'll get that ordered.
Yeah, it's coming up. So.
anything which is not on the agenda? So we'll now discuss the co-option, the councillor vacancy, yeah? Where were we with that? What was it?
But just as Fiona was leaving, she said she, I assume that she'd email she sent to Cammy Hall asking about it. But I think their response was basically that we need to just advertise it here ourselves. It appears not to have been done yet, so we need to move that forward this week. Not something else.
Not something what's forward to proceed with that. Yeah.
The parish council, or is that?
Parish council
Position.
vacancy as well. So there was no applications came forward for the by-election.
I didn't see the notice go out, was nothing on Facebook, or?
It was on the notice board and on the on social media. Like,
And on company website as well.
wasn't
No, it goes out on Facebook, notice, and I saw on Facebook.
I definitely shared it. Was it on the parish council?
I've seen the other two, I've seen the two for parish clerk and the caretakers, I never saw the vacancy for the, that's why I've asked the question.
That one was earlier. That I mean, that one was probably a few weeks before. Is it too late, Michelle?
That's over a month since that one closed.
Right.
It's over a month. I think it was the 30th of July or something it closed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to let on that, so it was all.
That's why I asked, because I've never seen anything.
Yeah, definitely. She definitely had it out there, Michelle. Okay, then, if there's nothing else on the, which is not on the agenda in the minutes, if everyone's happy, we'll just move on to the next item. Is item number 6, environment and community, to discuss and make decisions as appropriate on the following. First one, 6.1 is Remembrance Day, which is the item which is like staying on there until it happens. There's poppies around the village.
You need to go to them.
Which
No.
yeah. Did I? Yeah, so I had got the information of Chris for the order. Yeah, so we'll get them ordered. Did you have anything to add on there, Michelle?
No, I haven't heard anything else, but I would have expected it would probably have gone to the parish's email address, because I gave that on the phone when I put it all in, so there's nothing on. So there mustn't, I'll check with Lisa to see if there's any update on Lisa.
Yeah, thank you. Next item is speeding cars, where will we go with that? I mean, Tim had sort of led on that one. What was the, where will we go with the speeding cars? I know there was a speeding entrance feature going in at Scorers Lane, on Scorers Lane.
We're up in the community speed watch. We haven't had enough speeding to warrant having a cameraman place there,
Yeah.
as opposed to Woodstone Village. The cameraman's been outside the community centre 3 times a week for the last 4 months, and of course hundreds of people speeding on that little stretch coming from Woodley School. So it's basically all there by community speed watching, how many results and how many we're deemed as not having a speeding problem. And they've tried a number of places up at the top of the village next to the new views, and also on Scores Lane.
Yeah.
And still haven't had enough people speeding to warrant the camera on.
And I think the last place they did was the one past Seymour Drive Field, didn't they? Did they do in front of Don Crescent? In front of Don Crescent, it looked like down from the old Big Bridge, I think they did that stretch. Next item 6.3 is view reviews. We received an update on the proposal. I'm really at a standstill here, the carver. So literally the guy who runs the Clean and Green team, called Martin Briscoe, left the authority, went up to Sunderland, and he was the contact for the carver. I've sort of never had any response, and now no longer have his contact. However, the same guy did the children's features in the Riverside Park, and so the councillor for the Riverside, I do need to contact her to see if she would have his contact details. So hopefully that's the last sort of avenue to try to locate him. Other than that, he gave us a quote of £500 to do them, but also alongside that, there's a memorial seat going up there. Young Jamie, who sadly sort of passed away a little while ago, and Grandad Joe's wanting to have a calf Springer Spaniel at the side of the seat. So the guy was to do a Spaniel. Well, yeah, we definitely need his contact. So hopefully we will resolve that shortly. 6.4 is football fields. We see details of the cost of the cutting and maintaining the football field. Gary Brown on this. You know, sort of myself and Phil have been sort of chasing the guy in County who Phil even yesterday you were trying to.
He still hasn't replied. I told him that the football season started, we still don't know what the cost is going to be, so we can't set the pitch fees even. We can't say to the teams it's £500 a year and find out it's £1,000 a year each. So it's becoming elusive, isn't it?
I can report something here. I did actually see with my own 2 eyes a tractor pulling grass cutting equipment on the football pitch today.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, it's still cutting that.
You know, literally going across the pitch to get to the churchyard.
All I saw was the tractor on the football pitch with cutting. I didn't stay to watch him. I just seen that when I seen him cutting the football pitch.
I think the response to me email yesterday.
The thing is, though, they come on asking to pay for to have the grass cut, and like hasn't been put in the precept for it this year. Okay, then so we continue chasing that to try to get some prices to be able to give the football teams a price for the hire of the pitches. Next point is 6.5, the Christmas. Discuss and make decision on installation of a Christmas tree, holding the light and switch on event in the Christmas fair. Irene, I want to bring you in on this because I think you'd also be liaison would be on the Christmas fair.
I think we need to kind of agree a date.
Yeah.
So that we can, I don't know when normally you put the tree up.
normally sort of
First Sunday.
beginning, early doors of December.
First Sunday, 5th.
You know, they're planning on the craft fair, craft fair.
No, it was, we were talking about putting it all on the same day, weren't we, making a full day of it?
Yeah. So the 5th of
5th of December.
sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll get in touch with Bea.
So you speak with Bea to raise on that date.
Yeah, Carol and I will.
Yeah, Michelle.
Just a concern about having the craft fair and the Christmas tree lights which are on the same day. This place is generally packed and they packed to the rafters. The Christmas tree lights which are.
But the craft fair would be kind of earlier on.
Right, okay.
They wouldn't run alongside each other.
That's fine.
We'd probably do craft fair kind of late morning.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
It was just, like, you literally can't get it the door sometimes.
We're gonna have the Christmas trees switch on the week before. And the craft fair the week after, because normally everything's switched on by the beginning of December anyway. And that would ease it if it is going to be chock a block with the craft fair. because that
They're
was
not
big.
going to be at the same time. Yeah, the elements under here. So all the Christmas trees are under there. The inflatable grotto is all under the stage.
Thank you.
So the internal Christmas trees are made all over the stage.
The Christmas tree normally Michelle normally comes from the inside, doesn't it? Yeah.
And if you give him just to save us chopping it up like we did last year, you give him the diameter of the hole in the front, he generally cuts it for us. The hole's already there with the socket.
How high?
Just generally needs digging out.
How high?
We're normally sort of around 14, 16 foot. Normally about 100 quid.
I'm going to actually call in there the next day or two and I'll ask him. I sort of mentioned about the parish council and Christmas.
I mean, he knows
Yeah,
he
he's done it
knows
for
what he likes, so,
years.
you know, it's fairly big, and he did a bit of tours and stuff, so.
The Christmas craft fair, is any mention of craft fair that happens to on the agenda? I was referring to some of them that I had to miss last month.
Yeah. So I just touch on the last one. It was a shame of that week. I think it was the only day it rained. Lots turned up early morning, but I think as the rain continued, they decided not to stay. But there was still probably, I don't know, 10 or so did stay, 10 or a dozen. And it was good. It really was. I was asking you coming out, Carol. It was, wasn't it? It was really.
There was quite a few people turned up, wasn't there?
Yeah,
It was,
one of the issues is not charging, you have got a commitment of people, if you
Yeah.
know, if they're not paying. But I think the football was quite good, although the weather was horrible, the football was really good, so.
But no, it's definitely for us something going forward. No, maybe down the line, we could have a backup for for indoors. If the weather, if something like that happened again. But it definitely was like sort of well supported by the village. And
Can we discuss a price for tables for the craft fair?
yeah,
So that they perhaps do turn up and not don't. Does anyone have any thoughts on what to charge them?
That's what the thing, I mean, of Granby Festival, we charge them for the pitch on the festival, not necessarily a physical table, but the right to.
But it would be a table in here.
But so do we just want to? Is it more of a case of sort of a token gesture, so it gives them a commitment?
Tenner.
And
then, I mean, could you then put that back into?
Advertised to do whether they're asking for £20 donation for the table. The reason ask me to see what the extra pay. You don't want to price it 30 or 40 quid and nobody turn up.
No, but about a tenner. I'll just see what Bea says.
We used to charge £10 when we used to run it from here, £10 a table. That's not unreasonable, right?
Would you speak with Dee and see sort of what her thoughts are?
Yeah, no problems.
I was going to go to the craft fair last month. Unfortunately, 2 days earlier, I was contacted by somebody I've been in a meeting with who tested positive for COVID-19. I had to self-isolate and missed the craft fair.
Okay, yes. Next item on there is the fish and chip van, received details on the proposal. So this was in relation to, there was a business asking to use the community centre car park to 2 days a week to sell fish and chips from the van. I think there was further information was requested. That's the other message on an email.
Yeah,
But that information hadn't come forward, as in, was it asking what days?
yeah, we hadn't asked him days. He just said 1 or 2 days a week between 7:30 and 7:15. He gave guarantee there would be no mess or disruption, and he was happy to abide by whatever rules we put in place. But there was no indication over days.
We need proper information before we can
Go back to
Yeah, okay then.
You're going to be in the community centre car park?
yeah.
Also make a suggestion that if we agree something to go forward, we're reviewing after say 3 months, 12 weeks, something like that. We revisit it, make sure it's going as planned, and then send it up from there.
I think what the concern, what somebody had mentioned was that if it's there when there's football on, or if it's a time when there's a valley. There's another thing where they compete with the valley.
I think we should really speak to the Valley and the Old England, just as a matter of courtesy, about it.
I thought planning laws said that you don't take into consideration competition.
Who doesn't take it? That's planning.
Yes, I thought it's a similar thing, is it not? It's when
I think it's more of a case of the parish council looking after the businesses within the village. I mean, I think what you're referring to there is like when there's planning applications, the competition is in consideration.
We'll wait to hear what days
Okay,
and
then,
then move it forward. What were these times again?
7:45.
I thought it good business that he turned up when there was football.
Well, I was just thinking of.
No,
Well, the dark nights, there was much football in the dark nights anyway, so with it, it's dark at that point, so the football won't be a problem. The only problem I would envisage is they will have a fish Friday in the Old England, and that's about going at the same time.
Yeah, couldn't be a Friday.
I was just thinking, would there be any objection from the Valley, because don't they use the
They use the
car
car
park
park,
as well?
and the street was on the top.
Because we used to have a fish and chip shop which closed just before pandemic started.
Yeah.
There needs to be one at the car park. Yeah, it was one.
Yeah. Okay, the next one on there is the church, the cemetery and water supply. So a number of months ago it was agreed to explore putting a water supply from the community centre along the back of the field to the churchyard. So there was running water there for people who were tending graves to water flowers and plants on their graves. But it seemed that it didn't go anywhere, so we now need to sort of to put that in place in relation to get quotations. I'm thinking, looking.
Did you ever ask if there was water supply used to be there years ago? Is that still there or is it not there anymore?
Nothing, Peter,
Nothing,
no.
Because there was a tap there in between the new and the old churchyard, wasn't there? Right in that corner where the wall is, where the waste bin is for the flowers, there was a tap there.
I'll leave that one with me. I know somebody.
It's just going to save a lot of money from digging new trench into the.
I know I met with with Brian,
I've seen him yesterday.
the warden and T. I thought actually Brian who suggested to run it down from the centre. There was look to bring it in from Norwich Close.
Right.
That was going to be like extortionate kind of money. I'll take that one up. I think I might know I contacted. We will get a quote on that one. I'll bring it back next month. Next one on there, well, that's it for item number 6, and then we're going to go skip on to item number 8 because it's an error in 7. Item number 8 is community centre policies which have previously been circulated to discuss and make a decision on adoption of updated policies. And this is highly is leading on this.
Yeah, I hope, because of the amount of them, I hope you've all had a chance to look at them. And we'll take any questions that anyone's got about any of them. Anything to do with the booking policy?
Anybody? No?
Is that okay? Complaint form?
I did have a question on one form, just trying to find it on here because I didn't print them all out.
Fire action is just really to AOK, and I'll get some printed and laminated and get them through the building. The booking form, any comments about that? And that goes hand in hand with the new room hire charges. Has anyone got any comments about that?
Anybody?
These forms are the same as what we're under Pelton.
I've adapted them from what we
So
used
they're
here.
doing all right up there, so there should be no problems.
We're saying that people to book rooms would have to come in to see us. Terms and conditions for bookings, anything to, with that?
Just what covers everything.
It does, it's really comprehensive.
Well, let's go through them again because
The letter that we've done to go out to the groups when we get to open the centre, that seems self-explanatory. Okay, everyone?
Yeah.
And then I think the other two are yours, Carol, the PAT testing and PAT testing. We thought that
Court, and it seems very,
it seems about right. Just go ahead with it.
it's chief, you know. Considering he's got broken plugs and damaged cables, he's going to repair them.
Yeah.
So it is quite cheap.
You're happy to go ahead with that, Phil?
Well, did you just want to come in on the toilets as well?
Yeah, we've after being told repeatedly by Durham County Council that the toilets couldn't be fixed, for a plumber that I use regularly to come and have a look, and his quote was a really reasonable quote to get all the toilets in the reception area working again. I've also organised for the removal and disposal of the damaged systems, which contain asbestos as well. So that's all in place, and work's going ahead Thursday. Get all the toilets, seats and everything replaced, or systems and seats replaced. Basically everything working again. So we'll open up more fully.
That's where it was the 1st of October.
Yeah, it's sure all finished on Thursday morning.
The first Monday in October.
yes, I found the fire action form, and I also had a query about the part number 6. Report to the assembly point in the car park, and that's only a small car park, but you just go anywhere in the car park.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I mean, it depends what cars are in there as to where you can assemble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people will know to go to the car park.
Yeah.
Okay, very good on them.
So they can all be adopted.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you for that. Eileen and Carol, Phil. Next item on there was the 8.3 was the bollard, which we left with, again, we previously left that with Fiona, but there's nothing come forward on that one, Carol, in the. Well, that hasn't been explored in relation to any quotations.
You start off this one, Peter, get the picture when it start the album.
There's a gate from a gate on.
You want to look at, see if you can get a bollard? You find it in the road of a bollard.
It's in the book, I think it was the council and then we had gate first.
Awesome baby.
That was a gate, I think, very soon. I don't know what it was, I remember, how much was I, can you remember?
What?
You know, the gate that the county councils paid for, down by. Down the wine.
No idea.
No, it was the county council that gave it.
Yeah.
We made a good job over it was.
No idea.
We agreed on a lot of a bollard, didn't we, in the end?
I agree, a lot of bother, man.
That's the
Not that all, I feel, whatever.
We just have to give the combination to the, our key agreement to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's combination, you better like.
Yeah.
You look at that one, Peter?
Oh, look, I see me.
You got the job. Okay. Then part testing. I say, do we have to agree that
Yeah.
Before.
the part testing costs circulated?
That was one of the
That
things
was
that I
part
brought
of it,
up.
we agreed,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's not a good idea.
When you're getting cheap or not.
No. Next one was 8.5 was community consultation in relation to the ongoing it was being brought together, and Neil, you've been leading on that.
Yeah, so just a quick update on this one, still progressing forward with it. Without Fiona, we have slowed down a bit, so we should by this point have had the flyer out advertising the consultation, but not quite there yet. So what I'm going to do is get the flyer out this week for everybody to have a look around and approve. And Phil, I believe you were going to support by getting somebody to check over content of the service when it eventually goes live.
We're going to meet on Friday with we'll meet on Friday. Vicky and Gordon Ellis, that's his who's heavily involved in consultations, and he's going to go over the various points and see if there's any way we can try ourselves. Make sure it's
We don't need that for that. That'll be for when we eventually do well, questions. We can get the flyer moving forward, because I think the really key thing for me on this.
you available Friday morning. You're available on Friday.
Can be, depending on what time it is.
And I said we can just check the time it's going to be on, so we can share the link with the teams. I don't know if it's just in the horses mouth, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be great. So the key thing for this is to make sure that people are aware. I wouldn't want to push forward on the original timescales that we have without having enough people aware of it to get enough of a response to make it worthwhile. Something I believe quite strongly, we want as many people as possible engaged with this one.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Neil.
I've just clarified the insurance certificate here. It's this one has expired. It's simply business insurance certificate, which is
Touched on the animals on
it expired on 26th of August.
the bottom of all the attachments.
Take it back in hand.
That's not ours though, that's not ours.
Yeah,
It's not parish council's.
No, it's the gym.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something for later.
Right.
Okay then, the next item number 9 is the council to receive details of the council degree expenditure. And Carol, that's over to you on that one.
Yeah, so I circulated the August statements. As Phil said before, we've had the Keep Great Lumley Tidy grant that was paid in, £440 minus the VAT. So Phil and I are going to work together and to purchase the litter pickers and the high-vis jackets, and what else did you say? Sharp spots.
Shops, kiss, yeah.
Sharp spots. And then Fiona had paid money into the banks of the petty cash that she had, and then tabletop sale proceeds were paid in. And then we gave details of the expenditure. So we had Fiona's salary, we renewed our public liability insurance, BCC took their normal monthly payment, and then we had an outstanding gas bill for Gazprom. As you and I know, and Bill, we were here that day. Somehow or other, there was bills had included. I've got the statement here from February 2020 to July 2020, and then from February this year to July this year. Now, I got a phone call from Fiona, as did Jeremy, saying that the bailiffs were here, basically wanted to take the gas meter. And when I turned up, we were trying to obviously get to the bottom of it all. So it turns out that they emailed the parish account in July and basically said that the mail was being returned because there was no post box here. And if we didn't contact them, you know, there was obviously, they were going to take action, and that's what they did. But I know that Peter, you had sent an email to Fiona saying that you sort of had information about it. Did you know anything or?
No, well, the room was going on that way here, and just it was the post box, and I made inquiries to see why everything had been smashed off.
Yeah.
So the lad's quite within his right to kill the mail off and send it back to
Yeah,
wherever
of
it come
course.
from, because he can't do another no access. That's all he brought. No
That's
access.
right, yeah.
And he had been asked by, he didn't say any names, but he had been asked if he would drop the mail at the house, and he said no, because he just get it.
Exactly, and it's,
So,
that's fair enough.
so obviously all the mail's been sent back to wherever. And then I think a couple of days after, we were about to
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah, so I mean, we shouldn't be in that situation again, but we should never have been there in the first place.
The box was off for months, so it wasn't just, you know.
But these bills go back.
I passed the details at the time. It was early March. The box that I had, got it from Screwfix, and we can order from. But no action got taken.
Yeah.
Like the email they sent us, and I was missed.
Can I just ask why is that bill so high?
Which bill?
The Gazprom.
Because the bills, it covers bills from the 7th of February 2020, not this year, last year. March, June, July, then February, March, April, May, June, July this year.
And when did the centre get closed down?
Closed in the December 19.
All right, so
No, it was over for 3 months in 2020.
It was, yeah.
It was over to March, to closed us down in March.
Yeah, and that kind of bears out with the gas usage, because when in March it was £611, and then in June it was 21.
Yeah.
So you can
Yes,
see
we had 3 month open in 2020.
Wasn't a great deal that day, was it?
It wasn't known, and yeah, really, in your debt for that, Carol, because it's fair why, like Carol actually paid over £2,000 out of her own account that day to stop the bailiffs proceeding to take the gas supply meter out of the building.
It got quite heated at one point, actually, because unbeknownst to us, because they obviously knew they were turning up, but we didn't. By the time I got here, it was sort of, I don't know, it was about 11 in the morning. I'd already been on site for an hour. And the guy who was going to drill out the lock was quite rude, actually.
It's like,
He was quite, yeah.
heavy
he was.
handed on the
He
door,
was.
the locksmith was there, the bailiff was there, and,
Yeah.
you know, they weren't going away without payment, or
No,
they
we were.
going away with the gas meter.
This is just didn't pay after the locksmith left. Just come out there.
The owner tried to urgently contact me to authorise the payment. I thought I'd gone for my lunch and take my mobile home with me.
Mm.
So unfortunately, I was in community college at a long time.
But I'm just puzzled by how that was overlooked. Because even if you're not getting letters, you still know that you have the gas bill to pay.
I'll tell you how that happened then, because what we discovered was Fiona was under the impression that total gas and power were, one was for gas and one was for electricity, but it's not, there's two electricity meters.
Oh,
So she was getting two bills and was thinking she was paying one for gas and one for electric, and it wasn't. We're both for electricity and that was for the gas, we've since discovered.
Yes,
And we couldn't make it up, could it?
That's a bit of a curveball, and there's two electricity meters, and you think, well, there's only one.
That was kind of how it happened.
Yeah.
And then moving on from that, obviously since Fiona's gone, I've been monitoring the email account. So there's some outstanding bills which I've forwarded on, and Phil's posted them for authorisation. So they're all in hand. And then we've had an invoice which had gone to Ian, I believe, by mistake, for the bedding around the village for 4,336. That needs to be authorised for payment. Yeah, I've got one to put on there. So that's another one that needs to go on. And the only other thing I wanted to report back on was there's an email gone into the parish account from Ms. Ars, who were looking at the annual return. And there's some queries over that. So I've kind of pulled together what I can. They're querying the precept amount, and they were looking for just bits and pieces over variances. So I've pulled together what I can, but I'm going to have to speak to Ian, because there's a couple of things on there that are variances where I can't find an explanation, only he'll know.
Yes, he said he'd be happy.
Yeah, so I've got his number. I'll contact him and we'll work together on that. Yeah, that's where we are.
I thought the gas was direct.
The electricity is direct.
No.
Is that Carol? You're from there? Thank you ever so much for your help there in overseeing all this in Fiona's absence. Absolutely brilliant.
We need to get Gazprom onto direct debit.
Well, just to update you quickly on that, I spoke to the guy who was the broker apparently who was involved, that was mentioned that day that we were here.
Yeah.
And I've asked him to send me some information about how long the contract is for tied in, because my query over the Gazprom thing is the gas usage is actually quite minimal. The standing charge seems quite large in comparison to the gas that we're using. The bills are actually made up mainly of a standing charge. So I've asked him for information, and he said he would send it, but he hasn't yet. So yeah, that needs to be on my list of things to chase up.
is standing charge substantially more than a domestic standing charge?
I need to look at it. I mean, he was trying to sort of see that, of course, it'll be more expensive, but I don't know enough about it, so I need to do some research. But I just want him to come with the information, because it's something that I'm just not aware of. I'll chase him.
I'll look to me and we'll have one.
Well, I'll let you know.
You said it now.
Okay, next item on here is item number 10, personal subcommittee and parish clerk vacancy and update again from Carol. Just for the record, and for anybody viewing live, Fiona, the parish clerk, she terminated her employment after the last, what was the date? Sorry, Carol.
Our last meeting was when we had that special meeting.
Yeah.
After the last meeting.
After the
23rd.
23rd.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, and to put on record, you know, from the parish council to thank her for her services, and she sort of, she gave the parish and wish her well going forward. And over to you, Carol, in relation to the update on the vacancy.
Yeah, so I mean, it went out on social media, we had it on the website, and I put it through CDALC, and we've had no response at all. But Phil and I had a conversation the other day, and Phil advised that the the rate of salary that's on there isn't really going to attract a qualified parish clerk. So I've checked and it feels right. It's a minimum of £14.50 now. Get somebody with
It's
a
not just that, they need to be on the agreed national terms.
It is.
So people can bring, if they want to move from another parish council, they can bring the previous service to us. Otherwise, you won't get anybody to move.
So do we need to
We need to get, we need to have it.
Yeah.
So that'll be back to
We
the
do the
personnel
advert.
subcommittee. We'll have a look at the job description, the salary, and we'll redo it.
Just for the record, when the Facebook post went out for the 2 vacancies, I shared it on, try and get the biggest audience as possible. And I'll take it, it would have had the salary on it, that would have attracted anybody at all. So that's the fact that I forwarded it on, people will look at that and say, no, I'm not applying for that. And so I'd have to forward on the revised one, say we revise the salary.
Okay, and the community centre vacancy, Eileen, any update on that one?
takers?
No takers on yet?
No takers. No. And that really, you know, is what we needed to open.
Yeah, so if anybody knows anybody looking for such employment and caretaker to share it far and wide and
We'll get it all out as far as we can.
as you say, for the opening of the community centre for the first week in October, it's key to have somebody in place for them. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item number 11, is council reports to receive updates on specific areas of responsibility. So if we look back to earlier in the summer, we agreed to have each council have a dedicated area role. So on the agenda now, sort of each month, we'll have a councillors like bring forward in their specialised area to do report if anything they've been involved with, and to bring to the parish and report back to the village and what they've been up to or what the state of play is, anything or nothing. I'll open that up. I mean, mine is like I was the area I was was the play areas and the play field. Nothing to report on the play area as such at the moment. The playing fields, obviously that's a thing at the moment in relation to the costs. We have the grass cutting, and as we spoke earlier, we're trying to source that cost. So going forward, hopefully we'll be able to share them details wherever they were. But just a couple of other areas, just in council area duties just to bring in, and one was the churchyards, and myself and Phil sort of met with personnel from the county council and what might goes for Birmingham and for Great Lumley, and they agreed to come into Lumley Cemetery and do some work there in relation to levelling out the graves where there's dips, because it was raised where the grass cutters go in and there's like sort of long and short grass due to the settlement of the graves. And so it was agreed that they would come in. So yeah, any members of the public saying there's like sort of looks like any disturbance on the graves, it will just be topsoil being getting put on the graves to bring it and then seeded and bring them up to all onto one level. Just one other thing, just to mention, I was going to mention the the planning situation in relation to Stainmore, but that was widely discussed earlier, so nothing else to add on that. But the Warriors, the former Warriors pub, it has been mentioned that when an employee who works there, it mentioned to me that it's been looked at for the company to come out of there. So I did ask where the people who reside in there, what happened to them, and also said they obviously for the county council to explore where their new sort of place of where they'll move to. But nothing's happened as of yet, but I guess it will become empty and vacant, but there's nothing being mentioned as any future uses for that. So yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. But Bill, over to you for your area.
Well, the first thing I noticed this month was that outside my house there was 5 potholes with white paint around. They've been like that for months. So I don't know, walk around and ended up reporting about 30 of these little tiny potholes that have been marked for repair, but never done. It seems to be a bit of a theme over the last few months. Also, last month reported or asked for a drop curb at Minster behind the doctor's car park. There's a path that runs down along the bungalows. There's a number of wheelchair users and people who use walker frames. At the moment, they have to walk all the way around the Minster Street, back up to the middle of the playing field, and then back across again. So to cover about 50 yards, they have to walk 250. I chased that the other day because they closed that, and the trees also blocking the path. They closed both jobs, and nothing's been done about them. So I chased them up again, and now they're open again. So that's been that for the roads and paths this month.
All out the front's been done.
Oh, yeah, chased that as well, and there's a great been done as well.
I never noticed that.
I'll check
I
it
don't
out.
think so, but out the front's been done.
I'll put that in, I'll put the great in again as well.
You are working on potholes, and although it's the areas that have just done it 100 times, but you are working. That's a big patch.
No, there's no square on it. There's nobody going to do this.
You know, when they are working, it's doing a road help. So when are they working the way to the water?
Now what happens is when a pothole is identified, they have a set period to repair them. Because if they're not repaired in that period, then the authority become liable for insurance claims. As the insurance say, like, so if that was reported on a set date, you might have 30 days, and if it's not repaired in that date, and people have got a right to sort of claim. Eileen, I know we'll see you and Carol, it's obviously
I kind of
big part of
community centre.
yeah.
I mean, ideal situation would be the first Monday of October to open it, but it is dependent on other factors. But we are working towards that.
Can you just explain, because there's been, I know on social media being widely discussed, I'm not sure in the right way, the parish council in relation to weekend opening. Could you explain sort of the take, like to give an answer why it's not open on a weekend? Because a group that asked, like, it's going to be open on a weekend. So will you explain sort of?
Well, we discussed this at a previous meeting, and we decided that the caretaker's post would be Monday to Friday, split shifts. I mean, it was totaling 30 hours with just that, covering the groups, and we didn't feel that paying time and a half, etc., on top of that was really viable. And it's also, we do open up now for certain group, and it's not fair to ask us as well. We all work full
Yourself
time.
open up as volunteers
Yes.
during the week.
That's right. You know, we have other commitments, family things to do on a weekend and that, and I personally wouldn't commit to doing it long term. Yeah.
That's a big ask, you know, at the end of the day, the parish are most grateful for the team who do the opening up and closing to allow the group to run during the week, you know, for the users and for the young people in the village. And I think everybody which
And I mean, we did open up for a few days during the school holidays for them as well to do extra groups. Yeah. Can I just ask Phil about the man in the van?
What about them? Trust me, I remember.
Right. You heard that, everybody.
Carol, that was a joint, as you got the community centre.
Yeah.
See that the additional now the Clark Walk as well.
We quite often meet up and have meetings and things, yeah.
We heard about just say the man in the van, we don't know who he is then.
The man in the van was to collect the rubbish.
Right.
License space carrier.
Right.
We'll get all the stuff out of the room at the front.
Yes, sir. I do remember that was being looked into a while ago. Without there having been clear out and telling what to sell, what to throw out and things like that.
We are filling the bins and getting rid of stuff.
Did they collect the bins? I was hoping that was happening because I hadn't heard from you, high leads.
Yeah, we put them out on a Monday night and bring them back in.
So,
Yeah.
We've been invoiced yet. Neil?
I think the only thing for me is just in relation to the allotments. Mainly for the attention of councillors. I'm going to forward around an email which I did later on tonight. I'm meeting with the chair of the Allotments Association tomorrow. It's regarding a proposal being put forward by their management committee. I don't want to provide too many details out in the public because it is related to financial and other information, and I don't believe it's being discussed wider in the allotments. However, I'll be discussing that with the chair tomorrow, and I'll update everybody as to the outcome of that one.
And Neil, could you just add on as regarding what we discussed earlier as regarding the time scales, what's happening, what we're coming up to?
Yes, so coming up in November, I believe I had to ask for it to be added on boards to the agenda for November. It'll be the 5-year point from when the Allotments Association took over running of the allotments from the parish council, and in the agreement that was made at the time, it was viewed that either party had a 5-year break where they could look at it and decide what they wanted to do. So I'll be meeting to discuss that with the Allotments Association to make sure they're happy to continue on as they are. I'll be bringing it back to parish council if there's any concerns that we would have to raise. That'll be after November. For what I've seen so far, I don't believe there's any concerns to be raised, but should there be anything,
I think it's worthwhile having a small subgroup with some personnel from the allotments. Neil, just as
yeah, I can
report back to the full parish.
Yeah, I can certainly organise that.
Yeah. I'd happily be, I'd happily come forward if you want to do. I'll have a small group to meet up with the chair, the vice chair, treasurer, get together and.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might be a little bit short notice. I'm meeting with the chair tomorrow.
Yeah.
Between 12 and 1.
Court charge the flight ticket there as well.
The hard, yeah, Peter, there was
I don't know who caught them, it was a camera or somebody saying, or I don't know, but it's been caught. And
yeah, it was a camera.
Camera,
It was a
sorry.
camera got in the fine £7 million. Oh, yes, how can
I might be able to mention something here. The chair of the allotments, she's working in the evenings now.
Yes.
Did you know?
Yes, I've been in good contact with it today. We'll both meet up on dinner break somewhere. I might dinner break, so I'm going to go in. 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. Right. Thank you, Bill. Are you okay then, Alfred, Neil?
Yep.
You for that? And I'm not too sure, like, sort of when these roles were given out, were you on the board then, or do we need to give you some?
Tree, shrubs and cemeteries, that's me.
Right, okay.
And
right,
interestingly enough, we just held our first surgery this evening, and we had 3 members of the public come in who have all been quite upset by theft and damage that has happened in the cemetery. So we decided that we'll take that on board, and we want to make contact with Durham County Council and the warden of the church and try and take it forward. 3 things have been suggested. One is installing lighting there, adequate lighting. Another is installing some kind of surveillance device. And the third one that came up was water, which is already under discussion elsewhere. But while we're having a chat with them, we'll stick that in as well.
Yeah, thank you and Heidi for kicking that off tonight.
It was really good. It's nice to see people come forward as well, and I think it just allows people to speak in a slightly more informal setting as well. And particularly when things are emotionally charged,
Yeah, it was tonight.
these people were very, very sad by some of the things that were happening. I think this is probably what Durham County Council and maybe the church board needs to understand. It's not just about the theft, which is bad enough, but it's about the emotional impact that it's having on families. And that's what came through very strongly this evening. We need to really relay that in very firm terms.
I take it maybe possible is to the police.
Yes.
Hopefully it's just a few, because we've never had really bad problems. Hopefully it's just a
Said
few.
it's gone on for 2 years.
It's never been reported to. Not close anyway.
And the suggestions, I mean, I think the suggestions are not extreme and they probably will not cost very much. But we just need to find the right way of doing it. So we'll take that on.
Jeremy?
Well, law and order, as I said, we just discussed the cemetery problem. I think that's the big issue in the village at the moment, because of the antisocial behaviour, which has been a problem, appears to have died down. But if anyone knows anything, I'd be interested to hear about it. Tricky thing is, do I need to establish a contact with the police? Because I think the police are under-resourced and difficult to, as I said, we don't get,
Sorry.
we don't get police updates, parish council anymore like we used to. So I've got to establish a contact with the police, but I think that might be difficult if we haven't got the resource to do that. Obviously, I'd be interested to hear any like such as the cemetery, for instance. But I understand that some people who are not youngsters but middle-aged people have been caught on CCTV in people's gardens, and it does sound like to me that nobody knows who these people are. So it could be that the culprits from outside the village. Is that a possibility?
I know there's been quite a bit of stuff on Facebook over the last maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks where there's 2 CCTV footage. One of somebody in the garden down Rose John's in the raids and had taken cushions off furniture or something in the garden. And then there was a bike stolen from Smith's.
Look at the same person.
It looks very much like it's the same person.
And there was garden furniture prior to the cushions.
There was garden furniture from the River Estate.
Yeah, that's right.
A few weeks prior to cushions going. So, I mean, there's been a few names banded around when I've heard conversations. The police are aware of the names that are being talked about. But there certainly seems to be a surge.
I think what was reassuring is like it wasn't, because at first when it was happening with the stuff getting taken off the grave, I thought what was used to happening, but I think it's been quite reassuring that it's not new time around in the cemetery. And a number of reports have come forward like where people are cleaning on a night just to check, and there's nobody actually hanging around in there. So as Peter says, hopefully let's hope these are just like the one-offs. Although it's sort of, it has happened a few times, but let's hope it does go away. And it's just not nice at all for the families involved whatsoever. They've got enough to deal with without sort of having to deal with this extra sort of burden.
There is something I'd like to say, though I often hear people saying, the police are no good, they don't do anything, that sort of thing. We must get out of that mind frame. Every time an offence is committed, the person who either knows about it or who is the victim must report it to the police. We must get out of this mindset of, the police don't do anything, or they're useless. Everything which, every offence which happens in this village must be reported to the police.
Okay, Jeremy, is that you?
Yes.
Peter?
Sorry, I'm not.
It's just a pass as well, like it's just an ongoing problem as well, overgrown. They didn't make the start down anyway, but that's it, they put that top load and that's never gone any further. Obviously that's in the county, isn't it? It's nearly every pass is half the size at least, and just crutch it in.
Didn't you put
And they're not the best, in the conditions, and it's not the best.
You put an application with got curbs near the lorry, the bus stand, isn't it? The court.
Yeah, so at the core, that's but obviously there's a quite a serious and big issue at the court with vehicles backing out onto the main road. What they're looking to do is to extend the, I was best to put it, extend the path area, but it's not actually physically extended, it's to extend it with line, like a line with a raised, I don't get the term what it's called, like raised like lines, where they'll put like an arc. So when you're backing out, you're actually backing further. You're on the road, you're like backing onto the road, but you're going to extend the line like out into the road. Hope that will happen sooner, if not later. And also do some, having some wording on the road when you're approaching that area from each side, like slow or caution, what have you. Touch wood, nothing sort of happening, but you know, like, I think everybody who uses that, so to be honest, I'm now like reversing. It's like particularly if I'm in the van, I try to park around the back over the road, but yeah, it is sort of. I think if you can reverse in, it's always easy coming out. Because if a van just parked beside you, you can't see going out. It's like really dangerous.
I think this could do with being some more signage to tell people that there's quite around the back. It's obviously different where I live. I currently found that the front will be full.
But to be honest, Michelle, like that.
Around the back's full now with the.
That's where I was coming. You know, the baby.
I couldn't get parked anywhere the other
The
day.
baby. There's a lot of footfall goes into the baby outlets around the rear. But it does. It is getting its.
I'm in touch with the road inspector about the cul-de-sac up Untitled, you know, the lady who was having trouble outside the parking, and then all the stones all over the road from the same person.
Still not getting the answers from the PCSOs.
Well, I'm in touch with the council like inspector, road inspector, so I've sent him some pictures, and he said when his boss gets back, there should be a letter going out to him to get it all sorted
What's
out.
the issue?
One is parking a vehicle over the road, which obstructing the footpath, which I know isn't a problem, but
Is this for people at school time or just
no,
residents?
this resident, but they're literally totally obstructing the path. You can't walk on it at all. So also it's got.
You have to have that much to lamppost and
Yeah.
a van with no actual curb behind it.
Yeah. Plus also he's got like larger stones on his drive, and they're all coming out onto the road, and I had a gent stop me with a complaint that he's got a paint chip on his car from these stones. So the inspector's trying to do something about it.
It's in that cul-de-sac, so it was last year, like I was involved at school time, people collecting children were parking